it's mind numbing because you're seeing the same thing. So like I saw the San Diego Padres and Seattle Mariners baseball signs like so many times, and I'm like, it doesn't register to me. This is not impactful that I saw this sign again for like the 80th time, right? And every time that you would work so hard to run one lap, and it's like you see your like splits pop up, and you're like, I'm like, it's so insignificant, right? But at the end of the race, at the end of a 24-hour, it's like that's where all that struggle that you've gone through and kind of all the battles, the ups and downs, that's when it all matters, is like within that last chunk.
All right, welcome back everyone to our Meet the Team podcast. It's your host Heidi Allen, and this is
Bryce Brooks.
And we're again pleased to have Patrick Karen back with us. He is one of the admins out on the East Coast, and we're here today with another East Coast team member. This is Cole Crosby, repping the Dunkin' Donuts hat, wannabe sponsor. So Dunkin', please pick him up. He'd be a great addition if you're looking into getting into sponsoring ultra runners. So thanks for being with us, Cole.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you just ran Sedona Canyons. That's right. The 125.
That is correct.
Awesome. Well, kind of give us a little brief rundown on how it went. What were your goals going into it? We kind of want to hear about what it was like out there. It was very rainy, so tell us what you thought of that.
Yeah. So for me, like I love Cocodona. The big story was that I had never finished a 100-mile race until I ran the 250 in 2022. And so my first belt buckle in any kind of ultra race is a Cocodona belt buckle. So talk about significance, right? So, knowing how hard it is to prep and plan for the 250, especially the crew logistics part of it, I kind of wanted to try and do something like different, and that's kind of where I was like, I can kind of enjoy this week, but not have the pressure and not put the pressure on my crew as much for the 250 and focus on a different distance, see the course in a different light as well. I had never got the opportunity to see Sedona in the daylight, and that was a big motivator for me. It was like, if I run Sedona Canyons, I'm going to see the Sedona section in sunlight. And obviously that's one of the most beautiful sections of the course. And so that's kind of what drew me and motivated me to Sedona Canyons, was being able to, get to experience the course in a different way, experience some different parts of the course that you don't get to experience in the 250. And then also like have a little bit less pressure of all the moving parts that the 250 kind of demands.
Yeah, it was I think Sedona Canyons this year was a very different course than it has been in the past. What were some of the highlights of the course that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, the Sedona section was amazing. Like I always want to call it the hang glider trail. It's the
hangover.
The hangover trail.
Hangover trail. Thank you. A funny story was, I'm out on that trail. I'm on like it was just, I mean, talk about just like feeling like you're engulfed by these majestic red rocks, spires everywhere. You're surrounded by red hues of red, kind of similar to our shirt, like different kind of like oranges. And then you also kind of have lush greenery all around you. And so that really was inspiring. And the funny thing is I'm on that I'm going to keep calling the hang glider trail. Sorry, hangover
Just
trail.
Go for it. Yeah.
And ultimately, I ended up going a little bit too far south, or like too far down on the rock from where I was supposed to be. Lo and behold, one of the most iconic photographers, Scott, was up higher above, and he just yells, Cole, up here. And I look up and I'm like, holy crap. No, because I was like, I'm kind of on course, but I knew I was a little bit off. And I was thinking about, I'm like, I don't think Steve Adderholt would have people going the way that I was going, because it was getting a little bit sketchy. And I climb up the rock to where Scott was, and then I'm like, okay, now I know where I'm at. But it was kind of like I had one of those moments where I'm like, man, am I going to be up here for like an hour trying to figure out exactly where to go? And I was just about to turn back to see if I could catch the blazes. But luckily everything worked out. Didn't fall off any kind of rocks or anything like that. But the views were just totally captivating. I really enjoyed the climb up into the Coconino Plateau from Sedona. That was really cool. A really different like path to go up that way. So that was, and then you got to look back and see like literally the whole course behind you, which was really cool. But yeah, it's a race like any of the distances. Like it's a race where you like the scenery changes so quickly, like from almost from checkpoint to checkpoint, to where you're in a different like environment each and every time, and so that's really again like a huge driver and motivator for like people to sign up and to do all these different events and distances within the Cocodona week.
Yeah, I think we have a race every single day now except for Thursdays. So I bet Jamil's got something up his sleeves though that'll give a race every single day. But that's awesome. Yeah, we were so you ended up taking third overall. How are you feeling about the results and how are you feeling now? Like are you back into running or still kind of taking a bit of a recovery week?
Yeah, I ran a little bit yesterday. This week is really just kind of feeling things out. I don't really have a whole lot of big events planned this summer on the calendar, so now is kind of a good period to kind of like recover, focus on training, um, and hopefully maybe do some more local New England kind of events and helps volunteer and support more local New England events. So that's kind of my plan for right now. But yeah, no, I think I think things went really well overall. Obviously I definitely had high aspirations to just to get the win and smash it and go after Jeff Browning's course record and all that. And I set myself up pretty well. I did have some like miscues. For me, like I do well with really solid, like whole food, I guess you can say.
Hmm.
And so the thing that I learned a lot from Sedona Canyons is that the aid stations, the distances between them is kind of similar to like Cocodona. So like they're pretty far spread out. Like you're not getting an aid station every like 6 miles or 4 miles. It's like every like 10 to there's somewhere it's like 17. And so it runs more like a 200 than it does like a slightly over 100. So that's just something to mention to people. And yeah, I got a little bit in the hole while I was like craving some like just like potatoes and like other stuff. And I had my gels and everything. And my crew did an amazing job. I had like these like turkey wraps, but unfortunately, leaving Sedona, one of them fell out of my pocket,
Oh,
and I didn't
shoot.
notice it until I was like already like out on the trails. I'm like, well, crap. And so yeah, I just got low energy and overnight, and tripping over rocks is not a great thing to do. And you talked about the conditions, like it was very muddy. So like either it was rocky trails. Well,
Yeah.
the trails were rocky for sure, and then you also had a lot of mud that was like soul sucking. Like it's a different kind of mud than what we see in New England. Like it just like caked on like crazy, and
It's like clay.
yeah,
People looked
exactly.
like they were running around in snowshoes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It felt like quicksand. It really did, and it was just like it caught me at a time where I was like at my weakest, and I mean, luckily I was able to kind of turn things around and get a solid third place finish. But yeah, I mean, every race has its challenges, and this one definitely, I would say fulfilled that for sure.
were you doing anything before the race specifically for heat management, for heat training? Were you expecting this to be a hot race? I know you've got a lot of time on the course, and every year up to this point has been hot and dry, and this was a drastic change. And yeah, how did that play in? Were you wet for a bunch of the time? Yeah, how did the
Yeah,
cold affect you?
yeah. I don't. The cold doesn't bother me really, but
And
I have a hot tub at home, so I use that a lot for like heat training slash recovery. And I felt like I was pretty well like heat, like dry heat doesn't really bother me too much. I used to like way back, but I feel like I've kind of figured out the topical cooling kind of side of things. I will say that to start Sedona Canyons, like it was humid.
Yes,
It felt
very.
kind of like New England, like a cool New England kind of summer morning, and I was like, ugh. And like as I made my way to through Sedona, the sun came out, and I was like, man, like I could kind of I was prepared for like being on top of my electrolytes, but I definitely kind of mismanaged a little bit in terms of like, okay, like my shirt is soaking wet. That doesn't normally happen,
Right.
like unless I'm pouring water on myself. And in Arizona, it's like your shirt's dry within a couple minutes.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And so that was a sign to me. I'm like, okay, I have to kind of adjust my plan. And maybe that adjustment came a little bit too late, where it kind of beat me down just slightly. But again, that's like, it's part of the game, right?
I imagine that you'd probably be more comfortable in the cold weather being out from the Northeast. But have you been out in Arizona a lot? Like, have you been on our trails and explored
Yeah.
around here?
Yeah. I've definitely done, a fair number of like Aravaipa events, in different times of the year too. Um, yeah. And I mean, I think, again, the cold wasn't really too bad. I mean, give me, 10 degrees Fahrenheit, like that's fine. Like I can survive, no
Yeah.
problem. Um, I think the challenge, and like I thought about this for a lot of runners out there, was if you're not fueling properly in cold weather, you're in trouble, because especially for the 250 runners, 125, like any longer distance, because your body is really, it's fighting itself for, you know, the fuel to keep moving, but also to keep warm. And that's what got me in this race at Sedona Canyons, was that all the fuel I was putting in, which was mostly like, gels and these NAC purees and that stuff, my body was using it more for keeping warm versus
Mm.
like powering myself. And so that's where I felt like someone unplugged the Energizer Bunny. I just kind of ran out of steam.
And I
Um,
feel like it's really easy in the cold to just kind of forget about fueling and
yeah,
hydrating. So, yeah, it's a rough one.
yeah. So it was kind of this kind of unique types of extremes definitely this year. I mean, it did kind of rain a little bit. Um, but not so bad, tough for the first few days for the 250, not so bad for the 125.
Hmm.
But yeah, definitely different. Like, the conditions were not what I expected. They ran a little bit harder than I expected to, just given the amount of single track of the Sedona Canyons course, especially when you're up on the Coconino Plateau, where normally it's like dirt Jeep roads that you can just really like let it rip and stuff. The single track, you have to like really pick your footing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, congrats on Sedona 125. I think we were all like rooting for you. I was like looking at the list results and I was like, "Oh yeah, Cole's going to crush this race. He's going to do awesome."
It seems like there
But
was a point where you may have picked it back up after that low point, Cole. Was there a specific point in time that you can recall where there was like that change of mindset?
Yeah, the last 12 miles.
Yeah.
So so like my watch is literally about to die. Like I had it on like a super hyper like battery mode, and I'm like, it's saying it's going into battery saving mode. So I'm like, well, I guess Strava is not going to get to see the last 12 miles. And so I sat at the FAC aid station, mile 114, I believe is what it was. It's early morning, and I just ate some ginger snaps. The volunteers, of course, with Aravaipa is like as good as it gets. And I spent maybe, I don't know, like 20 plus odd minutes there. And as I left the aid station, I kind of like started to kind of like gain my footing. And I believe I was almost catching up to Kevin, who was second place.
Hmm.
Like I saw a person in the distance, and I'm like, I don't know if that's him or if that's somebody else just out there like walking around like on a, doing a Thursday morning stroll or whatnot. But I do know that like I saw that person look back, which it was Kevin, and he was like, I could just tell it was like deer in the headlights. Like he's like, and he ran one of the fastest kind of like all out last, let's say 8 miles, at the end of a 120 plus mile race that I've ever witnessed, because he was gone. It was like a mirage.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and I just kept doing my thing. I'm like, if it's him, awesome. But I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm content with just holding on to third place and just fighting for that. So
good job.
thank you.
Um, well, I kind of want to shift into some of your other results. Obviously, you've done a ton of Northeast races. I saw some interesting ones like the 7-Eleven Slurpee Day Ultra and like the Tesla Hertz Run. I'm kind of curious like what these races are and yeah, I've never heard of them, so I'm not as familiar with East Coast races. And Patrick, if you have any insight on these East Coast races, let us know.
Yeah, I don't know if Patrick's done the 7-Eleven. So there's a pretty fun rowdy crowd and community in the state of Connecticut, and one individual he puts on 7-Eleven. At 7-Eleven, he mapped out like a roughly it's like a 36 mile, 38-mile route that touches about I think at least 7 different 7-Elevens throughout central Connecticut. And so I was like, huh, it's on a Monday. Like Mondays are usually a slower work day for me. And I'm like, why not? I'll give this a shot. So that's kind of it's more of like a fat ass kind of event in a sense. Like you pay your entry fee covers the uh the bus ride, which is like you get like a coach bus. Like it's like you're like a celebrity driving in the coach bus to the start line of this
No
thing.
way.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then you run your way back to your car. Like you park at the last 7-Eleven, and then they shuttle you out, and then you run back, and you have this like route that you all kind of follow, and it's a lot of fun. It's very much it's less focused on like hard competition and more about like camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I did it, and it was like a great excuse to get a long run in with people.
And
Um,
drink a lot of Slurpees too. So
Yes, which is really challenging. The amount of like I was craving sugar, give me sugar-free Slurpees towards the end because the amount of sugar that you consumed, and that's the thing is you get a free on that day you get a free icy, right? It's free
yeah.
Slurpee, so you have
Oh.
to drink one, and it's like it gets so tough by the last few.
So
Was it,
one Slurpee per 7-Eleven is like is
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the rule?
yep, exactly.
Dang.
And did you have to wait in line? Because I feel like every time on 7-Eleven, I think about getting a Slurpee, but the lines are crazy, so I never do it. But
Yeah, sometimes it was kind of funny as a group of like 25 of us when we'd roll into that 7-Eleven and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" right? Like and we're all like smelly like runners, all sweaty and stuff because it's middle of summer, right? So yeah, definitely recommend those something like that. It's a lot of fun. I've had a dream of doing like my own Rhode Island Dunkin' Donuts challenge.
Oh, that would be good.
So it's in the works. It'd be probably over 100 miles because we have about 130 Dunkin' Donuts
oh
locations
my
in the state.
goodness.
So to be determined on that, but yeah, I'm definitely these. These are fun ways to like mix up your training, do something different, have an adventure. Like I'm all about that type of stuff. So that's how that happened. Tesla Hertz was a real race, so
Okay.
it
Okay.
That one wasn't a
wasn't
fast
as
race.
much fun. It's still really fun. It's out on Long Island. You do loops around pretty much about 10 mile loops or so. I chose to do the 156.7 mile distance. And yeah, just like it's a big party in this like little Pine Barrens section of Long Island where you got like pine trees and like the soil's really sandy and it's like mountain biking trails kind of, so it's very like
Oh, cool. Yeah.
undulating and
Okay.
rolling, and it's just a party. Like people are out there like playing their music. Like it's the first time I saw a lot of people with these like super bright, I think they're called Nox gear reflective vests, where they like you light
Yeah.
up and you look like a crustacean or something. And I ended up getting one after that fact because I was like, wow, like this is I got it. I need to be a part of something like this. This is amazing, right? And so yeah, it's just a really great crowd. Vinny Capador is the race director there, and he just puts on just top class events, just really great community oriented events.
Cool. Yeah, I included the Tesla one because I think I've heard of a Tesla race where it's like you have to try to beat a Tesla somewhere,
Oh
like
yeah,
depending
yeah.
on like because they have to like stop and charge. So you have to like try to beat them to the finish line. So I wasn't sure if that's what it was, but I
No,
agree.
but
I
that would
like
be
these kind
cool.
of like silly races that just kind of bring the fun of running back into it. And then it kind of makes your real races even better.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
What are some races that you've done recently that you're really proud of or would really recommend? I see that you got like first at Cowboy 200. You just did Badwater Cape Fear, the 51 miler there.
Yeah,
What? Yeah, I'm curious what races you're really drawn to.
yeah. So I would say I try to be very selective and intentional about the events and races that I do. Um, a lot of it comes down to the people behind the race. So if it's a great race director, great community, like I'm all about it. And so all of those that you just listed are definitely fall under that. Badwater Cape Fear. I for the longest time didn't really think that I was worthy of trying to run Badwater 135, that whole event. And I was like, oh, this is an early season event. You run on the beach, and I wanted to experience kind of like what the community was like. And so, yeah, and I heard if you win Badwater Cape Fear, you have an opportunity to kind of get a preferred kind of like
Oh,
entry with Badwater 135 the following year. So that was motivation. Running that race and trying to win the race was motivation. And so yeah, things panned out well to where I was able to hold on for a win there. And next year I'm hopefully looking to do this challenge called the Arrowhead 135, which is in Minnesota. It's like one of the coldest races in the country.
oh,
It's usually, it's in the middle of winter. You carry a sled,
Sled, yeah.
temperatures
Curious
below
blood.
20
Wow,
degrees kind of stuff. And then
that's awesome.
hopefully with all my good resume work for Badwater and plus with this Cape Fear, I should be a lock to run Badwater 135 in the summer of next year, 2026. So kind of I'm like setting up for my schedule for next year, which is kind of fun. But yeah, the coldest race in the country, hottest race in the
dang,
country,
that's super cool.
world, however you want to classify
Yeah,
them.
no, that's like a super
So
fun challenge.
Is that
yeah,
a snowshoe race or is that
no,
okay?
no. I mean, you can wear snowshoes if the trail is really like chewed out and stuff. But primarily, I think people wear like really almost like winter boot kind of hiking boot run
Oh,
kind of stuff.
yeah, sure.
It's such a unique footwear kind of like demand. I would say that you don't people compromise somewhere, but should be fun. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that stuff, and then yeah, Cowboy 200, can't speak any more highly of that. I mean, hey, everybody, Cocodona just happened. If you want a race to where you want to see how fast you can run 200 miles on a trail, then the Cowboy is your race. The race directors and community are amazing. It's in Nebraska, which you think, oh, Nebraska, how great could that be? But it's just a different type of environment, a different type of atmosphere. It's still extreme. So we're talking. I mean, I ran. I've run Cocodona before. It was hotter at Cowboy than it has been at when I ran Cocodona 2022, and it was hot
Really?
2022. We're
Wow.
talking like in the 80s, plus 90 degrees. I think on day two, tons of wind. You're running from town to town. It's a very easily crew accessible event. You just pretty much run or drive on one road, um, which is kind of cool. And you finish at a brewery, which is always like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Honestly, one of the best finish lines in all of sports. So really enjoyed that. I ran across the years, which was amazing. I'll be going back there again this next or this year, I guess. Um, and yeah, just you know, really love events that kind of I like variety too. So I think doing the flat and fast stuff, some of the slightly mountainish kind of stuff, definitely interests me. It's hard to really compete hard in some of the real mountainous trails up in New England because they're really hard
Dude.
and they come at a high risk. And so I like to run on them more for training and for fun than to really slog myself down some of these crazy New Hampshire peaks and stuff too. But
You also not only ran across the years, but won instead of qualifying mark for the U.S. national team for Worlds. So that's pretty exciting.
yeah, so hopefully, I think this is the last weekend for where people can possibly do something. I think there's like maybe one race in the country that is sanctioned that's going on. So yeah, I'm sitting in the sixth spot. So please, nobody show up. Please, just let me keep that spot, so I can focus on hopefully be on the team and focus on yeah, the World Championships in October.
Oh, cool.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Where's that this year?
So that's gonna be taking place in France.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, hard to describe. It's in a town called Albi, France, which you just gotta look it up on a map. It's kind of off the beaten track. Yeah,
That'll be really cool. I bet it's probably in a beautiful mountainous region of France.
I hope so.
Albi. Let's see. Oh,
Looks pretty.
What is the length? Do you know the length of the loop for the course for the Worlds?
So that's the challenge, right? Is like usually they'll list that stuff in kilometers. I think it's roughly a mile.
Okay.
And I will say across the years, if I do this, across the years prepare me well, because I hear that the course is kind of windy,
Mm-hmm.
and across the years definitely has some of that. So I feel like I'm well suited for that. And yeah, I don't know. I never really thought of myself as being someone that could be a 24-hour runner. Like, I mean, honestly, I ran across the years 24-hour just to like see if I could put up a mark, and I've come close on the trail side of things, like Tesla Hertz. And I thought, let's just go for it, try a different discipline, like try to stretch my skill set and aptitude and see what happens. And turned out really well. And apparently, I guess I can be in the conversation for the USA 24 hours. So maybe I'll do more of these. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Did you have any major strategic takeaways from ATY this past year, as far as like nutrition, pacing, heat management?
Yeah. I think really what it came down to was the mental strain. Like, I'm so used to like having running from checkpoint to checkpoint and having like more visual stimulus, that seeing the same thing over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and also the like mentally, like when you're tired and like you're like, okay, I'm gonna get to this lamppost, get to this tree, get to this, like you can, it feels like you're making up ground in a 24-hour where you're just looped around. It's mind numbing because you're seeing the same thing. So like I saw the San Diego Padres and Seattle Mariners baseball signs like so many times, and I'm like, it doesn't register to me. This is not impactful that I saw this sign again for like the 80th time, right? And every time that you would work so hard to run one lap, and it's like you see your like splits pop up, and you're like, I'm like, it's so insignificant, right? But at the end of the race, at the end of a 24-hour, it's like that's where all that struggle that you've gone through and kind of all the battles, the ups and downs, that's when it all matters, is like within that last chunk. So there definitely is a really cool discipline, a really cool atmosphere. But yeah, I've run a lot of ultras, and like the 24-hour repetitive looped running was unlike anything that I've experienced.
Looped courses are definitely a different beast, especially when it comes to ultras. I don't know that I could do them. Seeing the same thing over and over is exhausting.
Do you think you
Yeah,
could
it's
do
hard.
that whole loop with your eyes closed, even with all the twists and
Yeah.
turns?
Mm-mm. No, I probably would have stubbed my toe in something, or just like tripped and fell, and would have been like,
Or
no.
like, isn't there stairs at one point, or was it a
Oh
ramp?
yeah,
There's a ramp.
yeah,
Yeah.
the ramp. The
And then it
ramp.
was like
So
hard left.
the ramp is something interesting because it makes it like, I mean, there is enough variety to the course, I would say, that obviously running up and down the ramp sucks when you're in the moment, but it's also kind of a nice little break too, because it's kind of like comical. Like I feel like I'm kind of like in a movie theater trying to like maneuver around. Here's my little Cocodona cat.
Oh,
Hey.
hello.
She wants to hang out, so sorry. But yeah, you're just like maneuvering through all these. It's kind of like a almost like a carnival. Like I felt like I was hearing carnival music playing in my head all the time, like that kind of stuff, because it feels like it's like this like spectacle in a sense. And the course layout kind of feels like it's in this like fairgrounds kind of setup too. So
Right.
yeah, it was very unique, very interesting.
Well,
I liked
plus
it though. I
there's
like
like
I like the venue.
there's like I'm just thinking about it more and more now, but like there's I mean lots of people on the course, but I imagine you only see them for brief moments. So it's like you don't have the time. You're not like running with them for a significant amount of time, but you see them every loop. it's just it's just a yeah, strange mental game.
Yeah, like Ed. I think his name's Ed
Oh,
Edenhauser, the
the
jester.
Joker, the
Yeah.
jester. Yep.
Jester.
And so like I would see Ed just like chatting away like all day, all night. And it was a wild thing too, because when nighttime would hit, all the 6 day runners, you could tell like it was mostly 6 day runners at certain points, because they would all like go to take their sleep and take their nap and stuff. And so it was like me, Edenhauser, and like four other people out on the course in the evening.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it was kind of it was very, very, very fascinating. But I really enjoyed the event. I thought it was really, really well done. Obviously, you guys always do a great job, and yeah, it was fun. And I'm gonna come back, so I guess I really had a good time.
Yeah. You liked it enough to come back. Do you feel like having people around more often though motivates you or makes you want to like not look as fatigued? Like, does it affect your strategy when it comes to racing?
I think having people around, like especially when things get tough, it allows you to just kind of feel like, even if they're not like connecting with you, like I'm not looking in their eyes and that kind of stuff, and I'm just maybe like running by somebody or someone's running by me, like you still feel like you're kind of like out there with people. And I think that does kind of differ from a race like a Sedona Canyons where I was pretty much out there by myself. It was like me and the animals, and um, there was times where I got to come up on some 250, the Cocodona 250 runners, but for the most part, you're kind of you feel isolated. You're out there in the woods by yourself. Where in this across the years kind of format, like even when it was like at its lowest point in terms of like the amount of people out on course, there's still people out on course, and you're rooting for them because they are busting their tails to accomplish their goals too. And so you can draw strength from from some of the people out there on the course, which is great.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of the reminds me of Ghost Train, and the where
Mm.
you ran the 50K last fall, and they have a 30-hour race, and you're going back and forth on this 7.5 mile stretch, and yeah, you just pass hundreds of people like every lap essentially, and just the camaraderie, even if you're not chatting, is really nice.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What's your cat's name, Cole?
So the cat that's trying to make an appearance here, her name's Mila. We ended up adopting her actually um, when I was running Cocodona.
Oh, so it is a
Um,
Cocodona cat.
Literally.
yeah, so we call it. I
Truly.
like my nickname for her is the Cocodona Kitty because, um, my wife ended up taking our car with Mila, our kitten, out to the race and stuff, and she just kind of like hung out in the car, and I think we had her like in a little kitty harness, and she was just like walking around, just like hanging out and stuff. But yeah, she's a good companion. Travels really well.
That's awesome. You said you adopted her during Cocodonas, like while you were
No, no,
racing,
no,
or
just before.
oh,
Yeah,
Filled
just
like
out the
before. Okay, I
application
was like,
online.
2 months before.
yeah. You're
Yeah.
just like, you're talking about how you saw
Oh,
animals during Sedona. I was like, oh, you just like found a stray cat and we're like, all right, you're mine
yeah.
now. Come on.
No, we picked her up in March, so there's
Okay,
about 2 months before, or a month and a half before she made her
cool.
maiden voyage.
That's awesome.
Would you
Yeah.
consider her technically part of chaos crewing?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. She fits the kind of the team, the brand and like the team colors, and
Yeah.
yeah, we don't get to take her to a lot of events, but if in the off chance she makes an appearance, like she's a good companion for sure.
Emotional support animal.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, wait, and did you say chaos crewing? Is that what you call your crew?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'll give you the quick rundown on chaos crewing. So this all happened. I ran an event called the Speed Project from LA to Vegas, and I did that solo. And I did something called the OG route, which is a longer route. It's a prescribed route, meaning that because the event is set up to where you have to try to make your own route. It's like a choose your own adventure. I chose the one that the original race director kind of like what inspired the whole event, what he came up with. And no single runner had ever completed that OG route. It really goes through like Death Valley National Park, so it almost butts up against the Badwater 135 course. Um, and yeah, I went out there and completed that. But there was times where it got really tough, and just the resiliency of the crew that I had, kind of this ragtag group of ladies, really kind of built this whole idea of what chaos crewing is, which is it's a network for runners, for race directors, for crew, for volunteers, for people that are interested in runner support and athlete support. Whether they're in the East Coast, whether they're in England, whether they're in Australia, the whole premise is really to provide support for runners across a multitude of things. Whether it's like my wife helps coach crews. Like at Cocodona, she had a couple clients where they created a whole game plan for that family and that for that athlete to put so that the athlete could just focus on running and not have to worry about managing mom and pop and all that kind of stuff. So they do a lot of things. and they do a lot of things really well. So real proud of them.
I feel like they've got a lot of experience in the last few years. I mean, anything from fixed time, 250, 100 milers, you name it.
Yep,
Yeah.
they've even done something called the Race Across America, which is a cycling race. They
Oh,
helped
yeah.
I've heard of
crew,
them.
yep, they helped crew a age group winning team. So that was wild. I wasn't there, but it was wild to follow along and see them kind of maneuver this team all across the country.
I feel like crewing is its own ultra. I think we should give like awards to like certain crews. Like, oh yes, you win best crew team out there or whatever. It's hard
Yeah, and I
work.
mean, and I think like like the whole Mount Outpost Aravaipa did a great job of just like getting some of those interviews and like getting some of that like beta and intel about crewing, and like, you know, it just shows like that, you know, it's not just one person that completes the objective, it's this whole team that becomes a family. And that's really when I think about like what our sport is all about, like that whole team dynamic is really what draws me to ultras, to the longer ultras as well, where, you know, having a good crew is like just as important as having a good nutrition plan, right? And so yeah, and as the sport continues to grow, I feel like you know, really like utilizing and developing really well educated crew can make all the difference.
For sure. Well,
And
that's
it's fun.
awesome. So
Yeah.
chaos
Yeah,
crewing.
totally.
Do they have like shirts that they wear or
They do. They, you know, they have their. I have like we've done some like fun little like chaos hats
oh
and
hats? Yeah.
but we buffs and stickers, and you know, yeah. Hopefully, we'll diversify our merch portfolio. But we've started small, you know.
That's
I'm part
awesome.
of the Chaos Crewing Slack channel, and it's a great resource if you're looking for crew at an upcoming race, or also FKTs. You've
Mm.
supported some
Yep.
FKTs in New England, so yeah, you can always join the Slack channel.
Yeah, add me in, honestly. I think that would be really cool. I'd want to be a
Yeah.
part of that.
And
Yeah.
kind of
And
on that
getting
same
you know.
same avenue,
Go ahead.
are you planning on doing a like a race recap for Sedona Canyons on cresting the summit?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've yeah, I need to. I also got to fill in like all my pictures from Badwater, Cape Fear, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Been a little bit busy lately,
I was
so
about
you
to say
know,
that.
my Cresting the Summit blog is taking a little bit of a backseat, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's on my to-do list for sure to fill in the story.
Right on.
Yeah. We'll be sure to include Cresting the Summit in our show notes so people can find it and read all about it.
Is there a website for chaos crewing, or what's the best
Yeah,
way? Yeah.
chaoscrewingco.com.
Sweet.
Got it.
Yep.
Sweet. Well, I want to close up. I like to do like some rapid fire questions. So just like one word answers. Some of the questions aren't one word answers, but we'll just keep them brief. And then we'll close off. So first of all, what is your favorite shoe to run in?
Oh boy. I mean, I love lots of shoes out there. I think right now my favorite shoe. So I have you know, I'm an athlete with Mountain Coast too, and so I wore the T1, which I think is a great shoe, and I've really liked a lot of their footwear out there. But I'm gonna go with a random change, and that's like I really love like almost like Keds, kind of like, you know, like slip on shoes. Like I'm wearing a pair right now that I got from H&M,
Yeah.
and like
Nice.
it's kind of like the closed toe version of like a slide or sandal, but it's a little bit more casual. Like I like shoes like that.
All right. So next ultra, wearing the Keds. Perfect.
No, only this is off the course for sure.
All right. Then what is your preferred nutrition during a race?
Yeah, I mean I love Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. If I could stomach enough of those, I'd go for that.
So good.
That and like some type of like iced coffee from Dunkin' would be great. You know, I wasn't always a massive Dunkin' fan, but I've living in New England come to love it. Snack and bacon is a great one too. So look that up if you're not aware, but it's pretty much like portable bacon.
Oh,
Delicious.
If I had to pick one aid station food, it would probably be mashed potatoes.
That's a good
Those
one.
always go down. You can add more electrolytes to them. You can put them in little baby food containers that are like almost like little gel containers.
yep.
And so yeah, I think that for me is been like the old reliable choice. And
Tried and true.
I love knack products too, so I've used a lot of that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. And if you could run with any runner, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
So it was kind of cool. So when I first got into ultra running, Ryan Sands honestly was like he's been my Michael Jordan. He won a race series called the Four Deserts Race
Oh
Series.
yeah.
So look this up, people, because there's tons of video, and this is like Ryan Sands like getting his start. And when I thought about trail running, I thought about those races, and thought about him. And so getting to be at one of the aid stations at Sedona Posse grounds and actually see Ryan and his crew kind of like go through the motions and stuff, that was pretty cool for me. That was kind of like one of those like coming full circle moments. So if you're watching this, Ryan, come to New England and let's run some trails, dude.
Yes. Love it. Okay. And my final question for you is if you could give advice to any runner who's kind of new into trail running, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to have fun. Like have fun and explore, right? Like I think running should be about kind of like piquing your curiosity. I think when we focus too much about like the results or that I have to do this or and if I don't do this, then I won't get this, right? Like I think that's like, hey, everybody can be valid in kind of where they want to sit on things, but for me, like I've had my best races, my best performances when I've kind of like had a plan and kind of like let things kind of come and happen. And when I've had that motivation of like just wanting to see what's out there, um, those have always lent themselves to my best races and performances. So I think having that curiosity is one of the best lessons that I could let a new runner kind of know.
I like that a lot. That's really good. Well, Patrick, Bryce, do you guys have anything you guys want to add?
I have one thing. I feel like coming off of, or yeah, your Cocodona experience and sort of bringing it back to New England. You know, you've done the Bay Circuit Trail, 230 miles through Massachusetts, and also some other long efforts. Just curious, like your thoughts on sort of a 200 plus mile experience in the Northeast, and yeah, a little closer to home where people could find that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of actual races and competitions, there's really nothing of that in the Northeast.
Yeah, which
Um,
is why, yeah, I feel like you've created it yourself through the FKT scene, which is cool.
yeah, and I mean, I think it's definitely possible. Would I love to see, and has it been an interest of mine to possibly have a Bay Circuit kind of trail event out on the course and on the trail? Absolutely. So to be determined on that type of stuff. I think there's we would have to just be more creative in terms of how we sculpt the course. There's really not that many like actual trails, but we could get very similar Cocodona style experiences where you're running maybe through towns, running on some great trails with great views, to where maybe permitting would be a little bit easier. So there's definitely possibility out there. But yeah, right now, FKT it out, everybody in New England. There's a lot of good stuff. The New England Trail is really good. Obviously, the Long Trail, you name it. You'll find some really good gnarly trails out here.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We've got
I
a
know
lot of.
the FKT holder on the Long Trail has Cocodona plans, so
Yeah,
that's exciting.
that is really cool. All right. Well, thank you, Cole.
Yeah.
We really,
Thanks,
really
everyone.
appreciate having you on. And we're looking forward to seeing you out at Chikura for our Northeast Summit coming up.
Yes,
Woohoo.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And we'll sign off here. So,
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
yeah.